GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to Get Live Podcast. We are here today at Platform, a gaming bar in London, which I've been here before, but I don't think our guest has been here before. We're going to be testing out a new thing on the podcast where we're going to be talking with games industry professionals. Ooh, that's really exciting. So the first person we've got on today is Melissa Larson from Square Enix.
Hello!
Melissa, how are you today?
I am a little bit nervous. I've never recorded for a podcast before, so this is quite exciting.
You know what? I think that's with a lot of the guests that we have. It's usually their first podcast, whether it was KG Tang, the voice actor, Chin, or even Nathan.
Oh yes, I know Chin and Nathan very well.
Chin and Nathan. You know what? There's this meme on the podcast where every time we mention Nathan, we have to say hello to him.
Hello, Nathan.
Hi, Nathan. So this episode's not about Nathan, it's about you.
Oh yeah,
it's about you. Yeah, it's about
me.
you. So before we get into the main bulk of discussion, I'm just going to go through our disclaimer. Big shout out to Platform, who's actually allowed us to use their space. There's some background music as well. It's quite nice. And big shout out to Crunchyroll, our sponsor, as well as Sugoimart. Melissa, we were supposed to bring you something, but it didn't arrive from Japan, so because of customs. But we'll try and get that to you as soon as possible.
Oh, that's so exciting. I didn't expect gifts.
So usually what it is when we invite a guest on the podcast, it's something that I learned from Koei's because they used to give us gifts. I think it's like a Japanese custom, right?
It's definitely a Japanese thing. I just didn't think of it, I guess.
Usually we give you gifts, but it was most likely what it was actually going to be is like Japanese snacks, Kit Kats and things like that. So I will try and see if we can get that to you another time.
Awesome.
Yeah, so look forward to that.
I'm so excited.
How did you get started in gaming?
So by gaming, do you mean as a gamer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always loved the idea of video games, but I wasn't allowed a console as a child. And it wasn't until I think I got to about 8 years old when my dad eventually bought me a PlayStation 2. And that was super exciting. And I still have this PlayStation 2 to this day because it means a lot to me. And my first games I ever got was Spyro, Enter the Dragonfly, and Britney's Dance Beat, which is the greatest musical rhythm game of all time. I'm also a massive Britney Spears fan. So hence it's, top tier gaming. I'm a real gamer girl here. But that's how I got into games, and it's a bit of a sad story. I'm not going to trauma dump, but basically, fast forward a little bit, I'm in foster care. Well, I could tell you why, but you don't want to hear it. And I borrowed this kid's PlayStation 2 because I didn't have mine, and he had Kingdom Hearts on his PS2. I love Disney, huge Disney fan, and I was like, well, I want to try that game. It's got Mickey Mouse and Donald and Goofy on it, and the characters look really cool. And at the time, I lived in Sweden, bearing in mind, Sailor Moon and Pokemon were really popular, so I was already into anime. So all I could see was like anime and Disney. To me, that's perfect. And I became obsessed with Kingdom Hearts because of this one random game that was in this random foster kid's bedroom. And ever since Kingdom Hearts, like that was it. Like I loved Spyro and all the other games as it is, but Kingdom Hearts really set it off for me. I was like, I need to play every Final Fantasy. I need to get into this JRPG world. I'm a pretty hardcore lover of JRPGs, so that was where it stemmed from. And I was 8 years old when this happened. So from then on out, I went downhill into the JRPG world.
You know what? That kind of sounds similar to my story, to be honest with you, because when I was a child, we had games consoles, but we were too young to play them. Like me and my twin sister, we were like babies when my older sisters got a Sega Mega, and we actually broke it, which is actually a very interesting story because we're babies. We understood that when you open the console, it does the Sega, that sound.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That splash screen. And we were like, okay, they put something into the console to make that sound, because if there's no cartridge, it's not going to make that sound. So our mum used to give us carrots and stuff as a snack. So we were like, okay, let's put the carrots into the Sega Mega and turn it on, and see, it exploded.
Oh my God.
So we kind of fucked up their console, and they didn't have a games console, I think, since the PS. After that was probably the PlayStation 2. At that point, we were really young, and we got our PS2 a couple of weeks before release. I don't know how that was possible, but my dad was the kind of guy that if you ask him for something, he'll bend over backwards to get it. And then some crazy shit happened. My father passed away, and then it was just the same sort of story in that sense, because it was those Japanese games that kind of, I don't know, I used it to kind of forget about everything.
I have exactly the same story. So the reason I was put into foster care was because my dad committed suicide. Sorry, trigger warning. But when I went to the foster care, it was just because my mum wasn't living in Sweden at the time, so she couldn't take us just yet. We weren't there for very long, but during that time I was obviously very upset about it all. But whilst I was so sad about not having my dad, who was, you know, the person I loved so much, I had Kingdom Hearts, which was amazing to me, and I had JRPGs, and it made me so happy in such a horrible time.
And you know what? I think that's the lovely thing about games, because I've mentioned it on the podcast before. Sometimes playing a certain game can take you out of a shitty situation. You might be having a bad mental health day or whatever the case may be, and a game could save your life. A game could make you feel better. It could make you feel as if nothing has happened. You know what I mean?
100% agree. I'm very passionate about games being used in that way, and it's very much been something that's helped me throughout all of childhood and teenagehood and even adulthood.
Yeah, no, I still feel the same way. Like, I was talking about Fire Emblem recently on another podcast episode. Basically, my house sort of fell apart. Like, the ceiling collapsed and it fucked up my room, and I had to buy new, like, podcast equipment and things like that. And the only thing I had left was, like, my Nintendo Switch and a copy of Fire Emblem Three Houses. And I was just sleeping on the floor thinking about what the fuck is going on. And I was just playing that game. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sink my life into it. And it was a good thing. It was a good thing I did that. But from that point, from your childhood, how did that sort of love for gaming, and in fact, love for Japanese gaming, like JRPGs, how did that kind of sustain?
So, I mean, like with anyone having hobbies, you just continue playing games as you grow older. And I think the thing about me was that games wasn't necessarily my first choice of career. I had two choices. It was either going to be gaming or it was going to be music.
Okay.
So when I was in college, for example, I was studying, graphic design, and I was studying music tech and a couple of other things, and business as well, so a couple of things. And when I was applying for university, I looked at, in the UK, when you apply for universities, you pick your top 5, is it?
Okay.
And I only liked 3 courses. But the 3 courses I liked were all completely different. So my other big passion next to video games is music. I'm a big pop-punk lover. I love rock music and metalcore, anything in that genre. I'm a big old emo, basically. So I knew how to play guitar, and I knew how to play piano and all this. And I also studied music tech, so I have experience when it comes to like recording and stuff like that. So one of the courses was a music technology or production course, so I could become a music producer. Another one of the courses was like a stage management course, which is more like setting up stages for musicians or for TV. So again, very, very different. And then the third one was a video games design course. And again, super different. They were all completely different. They all require entirely different skills. The reason I went with video games design, which is the one I ended up going for in the end, was because the university that accepted me for video games design, shout out to London South Bank University, gave me a scholarship for the 3 years because I got really good grades. So I was really lucky and got that scholarship and went on to do video games design. And it was at university back then that I was able to gather experience before working full-time in video games, and that's why I've ever since been able to work in video games full-time.
So it just feels like everything has sort of fallen into place for you.
Yeah, it's like I was destined for video games, because obviously I've always loved it. I've always played games, and I even make jokes about my current job at Square Enix, because I saw a status from like 10 years ago telling my friend, oh, you need to play Final Fantasy, and it's like, I've been marketing Square Enix games before they employed me. Like, I've been doing it.
It's interesting that you mentioned marketing. So what is your job at Square Enix?
So right now I'm a marketing manager, just recently got promoted. I market video games, and marketing essentially is advertising and getting the image of whatever game I'm working on out there. So that includes making sure there is in-store presence at retail, making sure there are ads online and outside depending on how big the game is, depending on how big our budgets are, making sure that I work closely with PR and influencers and our media agency to ensure there is visibility on whatever game I'm working on absolutely everywhere. So any like bus ads you see, any like online ads you see, that is what my team would basically do. And we basically come up with plans on how we're planning to execute it as, you know, as it comes up to launch and during the pre-order phase and post-launch and any DLC drops after that. So there's always like a concise plan that comes with it, and it's my job to make sure that the budgeting is used correctly and put into the right areas that will make the game marketed right.
Before that, you were working in PR, correct?
I was doing both PR and marketing and community. So it was a smaller company, so I was doing a little bit of everything. And that was at a company called Reef Entertainment, who publish NAS America and Idea Factory games in Europe.
It's very interesting because that's actually how I know about you. And I know about you through Jazz, right? You know Jazz very well.
Yeah, Jazz was one of my closest friends, and he was my first friend in the games industry, really.
The reason why I know you through Jazz was because you guys can go and check the episodes back in the day, but we did a lot of episodes with Reef. We went to their offices. We had a really good relationship with Reef Entertainment, and that was because of people like Will and people like Jazz and things like that. So the thing is, Jazz never used to give us codes. I don't know why. It's because I used to go to MCM and I'm like, Jazz, okay, we're going to do this recording here. We're going to do this, this, and this. And it was kind of like QVC with Jazz. Like, he'd be like, oh, bitch, there's this new game. You should buy it. Like, okay, cool, I'll buy it. I spent a shit ton of money. And I didn't know that press got, like, games for free and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So he was selling the games to me. And a lot of the time, I'm sorry, Jazz, but you were selling me, like, really, like, I was, like, 18. And you were selling me, like, really expensive games. But in his defense, I really did enjoy them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a good thing and a bit of a bad thing at the same time. I'm not here to slag off Jazz or anything like that. Jazz, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but I had to say it. But it was only until Jazz was leaving that he introduced me to you. And you gave me the first code that we ever use on the podcast. So that's why I brought you on today.
See, that's wild to me, because I just kind of gave codes to whoever seemed relevant and whoever seemed like they made sense for the game. So I knew your podcast was very, you know, there is an anime-centric feel to it all.
Yeah.
And it made sense for you to have, you know, the codes that NAS America and Idea Factory did publish at the time. So it made sense. And again, with marketing, a big part of marketing is knowing our target audience. The type of people who would listen to your podcast are going to appreciate you talking about those kind of games.
That's true. I don't know if you remember it exactly, but this was something that sort of stuck in my head because at that time, I was speaking to a lot of people in PR around the same time, but none of them were giving me codes and things like that. I think it was for Danganronpa. It was like something like Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls or something like that. And you'd sent a physical copy.
Yeah.
And you'd wrote a little note on the inside. Where did that idea come from? Because especially at the time, being a small publication, it was such an impactful thing for me. And I imagine for a lot of other smaller creators and publications at the time.
I think it's an industry practice. You should really be writing notes to who you're working with, because you want to develop a good relationship with who you're sending codes to, because you want them to, you know, continue wanting to review your games, to continue covering you, because eventually over time, people might not care anymore. And in this instance, it's just a nice thing to do. Like, it's just seeming friendly, keeping those relations up. And it's not really using them because you want them to, you know, you want them to like you. You want them to like you as a company, but also as a person. The industry is super small. No matter what company I work at, I'm always going to bump into the same people. And it's just nice to be nice.
You know what? It's very interesting that you mentioned that this industry is quite small in the sense that you're always going to be interacting with the same sort of people, because I met you for the first time in person at the Jujutsu Kaisen press event.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in air quotes because I know I was invited because I was a member of the press, right? From Crunchyroll and all that kind of stuff. But I was so confused because I saw Nathan there and I was just like, why the hell's Nathan here? He's not in the anime industry.
So me and Nathan are friends with the guys who used to work at Crunchyroll or Funimation, and they basically invited Nathan as a friend because they had spare spots. And they invited my friend Carrie, who works at Xbox. And Carrie couldn't bring her +1 anymore, so she was asking around, oh, who can come along with me? And I said, oh, I can. But then I'd seen that they'd invited, you know, Nathan. And I was just a bit like, oh, we're friends too. Why didn't you invite me in the first place? I believe Frey at the time, he like apologized and felt really bad about it. Because he didn't know I was interested. Yeah, I do love Frey.
Shout out to Frey, by the way.
But
a legend.
Oh.
What's going on
there
there?
are people drinking very loudly.
Well, this is a bar, so I'd imagine, you know what, they're having a good time, Melissa. Why you have to ruin it for them?
No, they're living their best
They're
lives.
living their best life. But we're not drinking today, are we?
I don't drink anyway.
Oh, you don't?
So...
Okay. That's good, because I don't either.
No, good. Oh, really?
Yeah, shout out.
It's very rare to meet someone else who doesn't drink.
The reason why I don't drink is because I used to drink when I was doing the podcast, because I was like really afraid.
Oh.
So I was just like, I'll take a shot before recording. But then it just kind of got a little bit weird. I was like, you know what, it's not a good thing. So I kind of stopped doing that.
That's really cool to hear that you've been able to progress past the drinking.
Yeah, because you know what, there's this level of like social drinking, and it's okay if you're... It's someone's birthday today. Whose birthday? You know what, I just want to go over to them and just speak to them.
It's Virgo season.
It's Virgo season,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
Virgo season.
You know what, it was your birthday a few weeks ago,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it was when it was Leo season.
When it was Leo season.
Yeah.
Do you prefer being a Leo?
I am a very proud Leo.
Okay, that's good. Because my sister is a Leo.
I know. I found it out from her when I met her.
No, not that sister. Not that sister.
Oh,
I have like three sisters.
Oh, I remember.
No.
Are you sure she didn't say she was? What did she say? She was Libra.
Capricorn. Yeah, because we're twins.
Oh. Ooh.
Born on Christmas Day.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
It's shit. Thank you.
That is so unfortunate.
Everyone I speak to is like, oh, you must have a great time at Christmas, blah, blah, blah. No one gets to visit you on Christmas Day.
No,
it's
listen,
shit.
I'm a Leo, and I'm all about getting the attention.
Yeah.
If Santa Claus and Jesus was taking my attention away from me, I'd be so upset. Yeah, so no, I feel for you both. That's
it's
sad.
shit. You know what? At the same time, though, I'm not complaining because my older sister, shout out to Christina if she's listening, her birthday was on the 1st of August. She actually buys us gifts on her birthday.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm telling you, this is why Leo women are the best.
They're so generous. What is that
So
about?
true.
You know what? This is not like a horoscope podcast, but shout out to the Leos out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. That being said, we're going to continue this conversation, but we are going to go on a little bit of an ad break. So enjoy the ads. If you're listening on Patreon, then you're not listening to ads. So good for you guys. Before we get into the ads, just want to shout out our coffee page. If you guys want to support the podcast either monthly or through a one-time donation, we really do appreciate it because coffee doesn't take a fee. So all of the amount of money that you're going to be donating goes straight to us. So that's really awesome. We do have goals set up on there, like for podcast equipment, for artwork and things like that. So anything you donate is going to go straight back into making this podcast a better experience, a better show. We will be using it correctly. So I will assure you that. So that is ko-fi.com/GetAlivePodcast. Thank you. And back onto the ads. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Platform. Visit experienceplatform.co.uk for more information. Platform is a gaming bar in London that's also serving food and lovely cocktails. You guys can bring your whole squads there, or if you wanted to just game by yourself on PC, feel free to as well. I will say this, we've been at Platform many times for personal events, but also for the podcast. As you guys know, we record our episodes where we talk to games industry professionals and influencers at Platform. So it is an awesome place. Big shout out to Platform for letting us use their space. One thing I will say this about Platform is that they've got wonderful pizzas. I remember the first time I went to Platform, I ordered chocobo and chorizo. I know it sounds really sadistic, but it's basically a chicken and chorizo pizza, which is really cool. It's one of my favorites, but they've also got vegetarian options as well, like the Farmville, as well as the Toadstool. The Toadstool's quite nice. It's basically mozzarella, tomato, and mushroom. They also serve some wonderful cocktails, as well as some awesome games. So what I tend to do is I tend to book out a multiplayer zone and we get together and we play on the Switch, on the PS4. It tends to be a Mario Party, Mario Kart, those kind of games, as well as your PlayStation games, your fighting games. You want to get in with your team, you go fighting games. Want to play a little bit of Tekken, you're more than welcome to. They also do bottomless brunches, which you can also pre-order online for a spot. Remember, if you guys want to check them out, that is experienceplatform.co.uk. You'll find all of their information there, as well as menus and other info. Genuinely, it's a really nice place, especially if you are visiting to London. It's very well connected. And don't know if you know this, but they also do private hire and events. So if you want to rent out for your whole squad, if you want to, or if you're someone that's in the gaming industry and you're listening to this podcast, then you can actually use it for private hire. I've been to a lot of press events that actually take place at Platform. So yeah, what are you guys doing? Go to experienceplatform.co.uk UK, and Book Now. Thank you, Platform, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Back onto the episode. Okay, we are back. We didn't actually go on a break. We're still continuing recording, so there's no rest for us, I guess.
I was gonna say, what break?
No, we didn't get a break, unfortunately. That's how we roll on the podcast. We don't take any breaks. But we were talking about how you're working at Reef Entertainment and things like that. From there, where did you kind of go?
Well, actually, I think I need to give you context before Reef.
Oh, okay.
So, when I was in university studying video games design, they teach you all kinds of aspects of games. Because obviously I did not go into the design aspect, but I was volunteering a lot for other games companies for free. So I did some work with Bethesda at EGX. I was doing promo work for The Evil Within and The Elder Scrolls Online. And I also did some games testing for Roll 7 and Boss Studios, and I was just doing this to really flesh out my CV as much as I could whilst I was still in university, so it looked like I had some experience working with games companies. And it was during my time volunteering that I met some really cool people in the industry, particularly a woman called Corina, who at the time worked for Bethesda, and she now went on to found her own company. Oh gosh, I can't remember what they're called from the top of my head. I'll remember it in a second. I'm really bad with names, but she was a marketing manager, and I was just really inspired by what she did and the things she was working on. And I kind of looked at her and thought, I want to be just like her. The thing also about working is that I feel like there's a stereotype, and I don't know if it's just because I'm half Filipino, so I'm half Asian. You're kind of told that you can't have tattoos, that you can't have colored hair, that you can't be alternative in any way, basically, because you won't get a job. And my mum, who is a Filipino woman, was very much like, you've got to get a job, you've got to earn money, she wanted me to be successful really badly. And obviously she wasn't very happy when I didn't study to become a doctor or a lawyer, the stereotypical Asian stereotype. But I looked at Corina and I thought, this woman has green hair, is fully tattooed, she has a full-on sleeve, and is working on some of the biggest games in the world. And I was like, I can be successful and I can look like the way I want to look like. So it was looking at her that made me eventually, over time, I ended up getting tattoos. I eventually dyed my hair, and stuff like that. But also she helped me get into the industry. So she taught me how to write a nice CV. She, I believe she referred me to Square Enix because she used to work there. Oh, okay. So before at Reef, she did not help me with Reef, but she did help me write a CV, so it did help to some degree. But she was definitely somebody who basically made me want to go into marketing, and she inspired me the most when it came to working in the games industry.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the sort of Asian mindset, especially if you're not a doctor, if you're not things like, because I think it's not just Asian people. I mean, for me personally, especially in the Middle East, it's the same issue.
Yeah.
If you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not an engineer, then you're pretty much nothing. Yeah. I was having a conversation with my mum the other day, as you do.
Yeah.
And she was like, Bish, you know what? When you speak to people, at least people in that sort of Arab community, you should always tell them, even if you're not working because I originally a certified architect, so technically I can work as an architect legally.
That's so cool.
It's such a pain in the ass.
Oh, okay.
I fucking hated architecture. Which is weird because my mum actually told me when I was going and studying at university, she was like, you should go into radio and broadcasting, because I was doing the podcast at the time. I should have listened to her, but I was such an idiot. I was like, you know what? I'm going to decide to be an architect. And I went through maybe 4 years of the worst. It was the worst time of my life. But the point being is that she was saying that, when you speak to people, at least in that same community, even if you're working some other place, and even if you're making hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever, not that I make that, but even if you are getting to that point where you're really successful in what you're doing, you should still mention that you're an architect. I'm like, why should that affect anything? At the end of the day, what you mentioned was really good, because it's you're living your truth. You have that sort of ability to be free in a way. I know it sounds a bit corny, but it's there's something very beautiful to that, because there's a lot of people that they might have a passion in gaming, or they might have a passion in the anime industry, but the sort of held down by these old sort of mentalities and things like that. So it's very interesting that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's funny because I even have friends who went to private school or whatever, and those friends, I didn't go to private school, just FYI, I just got very lucky. But I have friends who did go to private school, and their friends from private school will tell them, oh, I don't understand your job in gaming, and these people would have all, you know, went on to become lawyers and doctors and whatever more well-respected jobs are. And there is definitely still a little bit of a judgment. And then there's also like the gender judgment. I used to have a lot of girls come up to me at events, especially when I used to do more events with Reef, and they would say to me, how did you get into games? I wasn't sure whether to apply because the whole male-dominated industry things intimidates me. And I would tell them it's fine, because most people who work in video games are lovely, and, you know, if you don't apply, you don't get the chance. It is still a very male-dominated industry, but it's getting much, much better over time, and I would always encourage people to try and apply, even if you're from a minority background, and to not let anything put you off, especially because of your identity.
Do you feel that there's a lot to sort of change within like the industry at large? Because you did mention it is predominantly like male focused, and there's a lot of companies that are getting a lot of flack if we're talking about like Activision Blizzard, and, you know, a lot of sort of sexual harassment happens in video games and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's improving?
It is getting better to some degree, and it does depend on the company. I do think that certain places are better than others. So, like, I'm not going to delve too deep into it, but I feel like if something like that happened at Square Enix, everyone would blow up, everyone would fight, and it just, yeah, I don't think it's so much of an issue in some companies, but I do think, you know, a lot of British people are quite loud, are quite feisty, and if they knew something bad was happening, they would say something. I know that if something happened to me, I have a lot of friends in the industry, and they would all back me up, and vice versa. I would fight anyone who's in trouble. I think the problem is everywhere, but it is getting better in certain areas. But I can't say too much about it because it hasn't fully happened to me. I've had sexist comments in the past from people outside of the industry, like
Twitter people and things like that.
Yeah, so even Twitter, or even in real life, when I used to be on the Idea Factory booth, I would have guys come up to me and say, "Oh, do you even play video games? Can you even tell me about this game here?" And I'll start telling them about Hyperdimension Neptunia, and I would tell them everything about it and everything it's about and who developed it.
You know, I hate people like that.
Yeah, and they look at me like, "Oh, never mind," and just walk off mid-sentence. Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, well, I was ready to sell the game to you, you know?"
Yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off generally, because it's like, okay, I got a notification on my phone from Xbox. Someone has turned on my Xbox at home. What's going on?
It's a ghost.
It's a ghost, or it's Georgina, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's been playing a lot of Yakuza at the moment.
You know what? Yakuza is amazing.
It is such a good game.
It's
I don't know what's
favorites.
about that. But going back onto that point, because it's kind of annoying. You get it a lot in the anime industry as well. These sort of, I don't know the word to say it, because I know it happens in like Koei's community as well, and I kind of call them the Muso meatheads, you know, like the people that are incredibly like sexist and homophobic and transphobic and like generally just shitheads, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, like I didn't think people had the balls to do that in person.
No, it happens in person too. Obviously, it's more common online. Like,
yeah.
I recently posted about some job listings at Square Enix, for example, and I said something like, "Oh, I'd encourage you to apply if you're like a woman or a person of color or non-binary or queer or whatever." And someone was like, "Oh, this is discrimination, blah 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 blah." But I never said don't apply if you're a white cis man. I mean, you're more than welcome to apply. Most of my friends in the industry are white cis men, and they're some of the nicest people I've ever met. But they also understand that, you know, we have to encourage the minorities more, that they're welcome to join. And right now, again, not going too much into it, right now in my team at work, I am the only person of color, and I'm only half. I'm still half white, and I'm pretty white passing as well. Again, not saying that it's done on purpose, because it's just that they're really good at their job and they got hired for a reason, but you know, there's a pool of people that apply, and most of them are going to be white and male. So it's more of me just encouraging, like, you know what, if you are of these minorities, definitely try and apply, you know, give it a shot, you know, don't let the stereotypes put you off.
I do agree that stereotypes do kind of play a part in it, but I think at the same time, it's like a lot of people, especially in the gaming industry, or people that want to get into the gaming industry, maybe think like, am I good enough? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know when I was starting this podcast, I didn't think that I'd get like codes and, you know, Jazz was making me buy the games, but it's like I didn't expect that. I was just doing it as like a hobby, and I never thought that it would be something that would make me any money or anything like that, because you don't think about it like that. There's that level of disconnect with, oh, this is gaming, and like I know that there's a lot of families that if you said to them, oh, I work in the gaming industry, they're like, so why are you wasting your life? Like people just assume that. Because people think gamers are lazy and people think gamers don't contribute to society. But when you think about it, like I was speaking to some family members recently and I was talking about the gaming industry, I was like, you know what, the gaming industry makes more money than Hollywood.
Yeah, it
which
does.
A lot of people don't know, but people respect Hollywood.
Yeah, they do.
So I don't think people are like necessarily ready yet, as in like the general zeitgeist for gaming as such.
No, you're right. I do think it's getting a little bit better over time because, for example, with, games are now starting to be recognized as a true art form. So you get, I'm trying to remember the name of those music awards in America. What's the really, really famous one called? Oh, goodness me. Well, even things like BAFTAs, for example.
Okay.
So there's BAFTA games, which is, it's being recognized more widely as a true art form in the same way as movies and TV. And this wasn't like a thing before, that's the thing. It's happening over time. Grammys. It's called the Grammys. So the Grammys has, for the first time this year, opened up categories for best soundtracks and best music in video games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And for something like the Grammys that recognizes, very stereotypical mainstream artists, like, people who deserve it. Like
Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly, like Beyonce. They recognize only the standard musicians as real music, but then have you listened to the Nier soundtrack? Nier soundtrack deserves every music award in the whole world. It is beautiful, and you got like radio stations like Classic FM who now play Final Fantasy soundtracks. I've
noticed that. Yeah, that's a bit wild. Well, I mean, also they have the Final Fantasy proms. Well, not proms. What's the word for it?
The
Concerts.
Orchestra. Yeah,
that's
Distant Worlds.
Which is amazing. I didn't think people would even attend that. Bear in mind, I've never played Final Fantasy until, I played Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
And this is where Square Enix has to turn off their headphones. Don't listen to this part, Square Enix. But basically, I rage quit that game. It was the only game I ever rage quit. So my friends told me, hey, Bish, you should play Final Fantasy 13. And I bought the game when it came out. And I didn't get past the second disc because at that time, you had to put games on like 3 or 4 discs, right? Especially on the Xbox. And I was just so annoyed. It was just like, why am I grinding? And I'm not even anywhere near finished this game. This game is actually shit. But bear in mind, I've never played a JRPG before. I've never played Persona. I've never played Final Fantasy. And I didn't have any sort of real experience with it. At that time, the most sort of level of Japanese game I was playing was Koei Tecmo games, like Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're really fucking easy games. You just press square, which they are. And Nathan, I'm sorry. Well, Nathan doesn't work at Koei anymore. By the time this comes out,
he would.
Yeah, they've got decent games.
Yeah, no, I do like. I'm a big fan of Dead or Alive. So
really,
yeah,
Dead or Alive,
Dead or Alive.
Koei's sort of forgotten about that time.
No, I am Melissa Larson, and I love Dead or Alive. Feel free to use that, Koei.
A bit of a tangent. Who do you main in DOA?
Kokoro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because at the time I had naturally dark hair, so I would always go for the character that had like dark brown or black hair because I thought it was me. Which is funny because nowadays, like, I've got fake bleach blonde hair, and I still don't play as the blonde character because originally I saw the brown haired character as me, and I liked that there was characters that kind of looked like me. I know they're not realistic bodies or whatever, but to me, like, I don't want realism. I just want it to very, very loosely, in fact, barely resemble me, and that will make me happy because I am here to escape. I just want fantasy characters.
It's very interesting because I've never heard anyone that says, oh, I main Kokoro in DOA. Everyone's like, yeah, it's Kasumi or Ayane. But Kokoro is quite interesting that you mentioned that.
I thought she was really sweet.
She's sweet. She's a sweetheart, but she's so incredibly slow at attacking. It's just so painful.
I think she's fine. I mean, all the characters are fine to play with. I play as them all, really, but Kokoro is the one I typically pick.
Fair enough. If people are wondering who's my main in DOA, it is Ayane. Just because I never really used to like DOA.
That's fair.
But then Chin was like, hey, Vish, here's a code. And I was like, okay.
Now he's paid to enjoy it. I'm joking.
it kind of became like a bonding thing for me and my sister because she got really into it. Like, if you ever play DOA with her, it's like she's on that pro level. I know she wouldn't like to admit it, but she's fucking crazy at that game.
You know what? My sister also loves Dead or Alive, and we played it together. And I guess it's just the fact that it's one of those multiplayer games that you can still sit down on the couch and play together. And more nowadays, video games don't allow that couch co-op anymore.
No, they don't. And I think it's only just some fighting games, and even then, it's kind of shifting
Online.
more to online. Which is quite interesting, but at the same time, it's like, even me and my sister, like, if we had an argument, we'd be like, you know what, we're settling it in DOA. Three rounds, whoever wins, that's the end of the situation. And she would always win. So that's why we don't play DOA anymore. You know what? I did an episode with Master, he's a DOA pro, and I told him a story that basically, I decided, my mum doesn't play video games, but I was like, you know what, I'm trying out DOA, I'm gonna get my mum to try it. She destroyed me.
Iconic. See, DOA is for the ladies, clearly. See, people think, oh no, it's sexist or whatever. No, this game is for the ladies. You heard it here first.
There are some worrying things in DOA.
I mean, I have to admit, yeah, that's just a thing in games in general. But then also, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, please don't hate me, internet, I am very much, kind of mentioned before, for the escapism. So I don't want realistic characters because I don't like people like myself. So I don't like myself. Not to say, pitying, but I like to really, I want to go full fantasy. I want it to be unrealistic. I love the Bayonettas of the world where you've got guns on your shoes.
Are you excited for Bayonetta 3?
I haven't even played 2 yet. But
you haven't played 2?
I need to. But I love characters like Bayonetta.
Bayonetta is such a queen. I'm not going to lie to you.
Exactly.
I was playing through Bayonetta 1 and I was thinking, everyone's hyping this game. Like, I don't like playing games that everyone's hyped up, but it's a great game.
You know who I think the biggest feminist icon is? Juliet Starling, Lollipop Chainsaw. She is a powerful woman.
You know what? That game's coming back.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think would ever happen, especially in this sort of gaming climate now. Sony wants to do more censorship. It's kind of stopped certain games in its track, like Senran Kagura, stuff like that. But Lollipop Chainsaw returning. I don't know if it's going to be like a remake or like a remaster or if it's going to be a second game.
I have no idea.
But I'm all for it because I wanted to play it again. I don't have a copy anymore. But it's like, search on eBay, people are selling it for like £100. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to pay that much to play a game.
That's the thing. A lot of people look at the character design or the front cover and think, oh, that game's made for the boys, you know. But when you actually play it, like, she's a feminist icon. She saves her boyfriend's life. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have a body, spoiler alert, but she saves his life, and she's the one, like, kicking butt. She's the one fighting to save the world. And the references in that game, the MySpace references, the emo song lyric references, she is just so powerful and cool to me. And she's girly, and I think people see, like, these strong women icons have to be all, like, you know, masculine or whatever. They don't. Be girly, be cute. Like, it's okay to be cute and be powerful. Like, it's a thing, and I'm very much for the cute and strong stereotype.
Another thing what I like is that she's just a well-written character.
So well-written.
Because there's a lot of, like, at least in the past, there was a lot of games in which, you know, at least in the 90s and things like that, female characters were just there for, like, fan service.
Absolutely.
And it's changed a lot now, and Juliet is an early example of that change.
Yeah. She has so much personality, and she's cute. And I think, like I mentioned, people have this feeling that you can't be cute and be strong, but you can. You can be anything as a woman and still be strong. It doesn't matter what you look like, and she's very much proof of that. You know what I'm actually sick of? You know when they try and create like a powerful woman and they just cut her hair short? and they think, yeah, you know what, let's just make her look as much of a boy as possible. Some of them are cool, but it's like overdone, you know.
Do you have any examples?
Oh gosh, I can't think from the top of my head. It's a lot of Western games that do this. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I can't think. I know it's a thing, because I see it.
No, it is a thing.
I
can't think about it either, so I was just wondering if you knew about it. But no, there's a lot of strong female characters in video games, and I mean, it's kind of happening more in Western titles, but it is also happening a little bit more in Japanese games, because especially Japanese games, they tend to be not necessarily the best when it comes to representing women properly in video games. And
you're right, in terms of like race and ethnicity, it's a bit bit, they don't have a lot of dark toned characters.
No, that's another thing, yeah.
But when it comes to like the sex appeal, there's a little bit of equality. There's the fan service of the men too. I mean, people do wonder.
Okay, if we go back to DOA, how many sexy guys? There's not as many sexy guys in the game.
I disagree. I like cute boys.
Ryu Hayabusa, he's not.
I think Doa characters are cute, and I like cute boys. I think a lot of men seem to think that women likes the whole big masculine blah blah blah. So for example, like, I don't know, Solid Snake or whatever, but that's not for me. I like the Cloud Stripes of the world. Like, I like the cute baby faces. Prompto from Final Fantasy 15, love of my life.
I've never played Final Fantasy 15.
Well,
I have it installed, but I'm thinking Ria gave us a code for Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So shout out to Ria. Because she reached out and she was like, oh, do you need code for Integrate or whatever it is? The expansion. And I plain up told her, like, look, I don't have 7 Remake. And then she just, here's a code. I was like, whoa. I didn't know what I was going to think about 7 Remake. Because I've never played Final Fantasy 7 as a child. Right? Didn't know what to think. My brother-in-law, shout out Carl, we're going to be recording over the weekend about 7 Remake. And he walked me through it and he was like, look, you have to be careful about this and this and this. The game was very interesting, but I wasn't used to certain aspects.
Okay.
Like Tonberry. That little green thing?
I know what a Tonberry is.
Why is he so annoying?
That's the whole point of a Tonberry.
Yeah, but it's fucking annoying. Like, almost killed him. And then, bam, stab. I was like, whoa, why?
That's the whole point.
It's annoying, though.
Yeah.
I hate it.
You gotta expect the Tonberry to do a little stabby wab.
Yeah, I didn't expect. No one told me about Tonberry, so I was just like, what the fuck?
Rookie mistake.
I was like, oh, he looks so cute. He's just there with his little lantern and knife, and then bam, stab.
Do you know about the cactuas?
No.
And the 1,000 needles?
No.
When you get to it, consider this your warning.
I finished the game.
Well, you will come across cactuas at some point if you continue playing Final Fantasy games. Just consider they have a lot of needles because it's based on a cactus, isn't it? Just consider that. That's your future warning.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But the thing is, like, for me, Final Fantasy, like, it makes me rage quit, but in a good way. Like, I spent like a good 5 hours trying to figure out how to defeat Tonberry. And then the moment I defeated Tonberry, I just screamed. I was like, yes! I was just so happy.
You know what's mad? You saying you struggled with some of these Final Fantasy games. Now, I've always thought I was like this terrible gamer. I play a lot of games on easy mode. I'm a busy gal, I have a lot of interest. I love gaming, but I also like to go outside, believe it or not. I go to the gym and I travel, like, not bragging or anything, but I always thought I was a terrible gamer. Hearing you say this has made me feel great, because I never struggled with Final Fantasy games.
Melissa, I invited you on this podcast to talk about you and to have a nice conversation.
I feel good about myself.
I feel personally attacked.
No, but I feel good about myself. I mean, no, but let me tell you though, Kingdom Hearts is the game that's difficult.
I've never understood Kingdom Hearts.
You don't need to understand it.
It's like, why is Goofy there? Like, I never understood that.
Have you ever tried playing it? Like,
I did. I got like the HD collection, and I'm like, I don't understand this.
You know what? It is very, even as a big Kingdom Hearts fan, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time. It is a hard game to explain to those who have never played it before. What I tell people, so obviously I have to market Kingdom Hearts, I have to sell it. I tell people, Kingdom Hearts is basically set in a universe based on light and darkness, and they have to restore balance in the world. This is my short way of explaining it. And, Heartless are taking over the world, so it is Sora's job with his friends to close the keyholes and, restore balance and stop the Heartless from attacking everyone. So that's kind of like the easy and shorty sorry, I don't know why I muddled my words. That's the easy and short way to explain the game. Obviously, you can go into more details and how much darker it can get, how much weirder it can get. It's a very weird game, but in a good way. But it is a hard game to explain to those who you just need to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really got used to, like, I was playing it for a little bit and I was like, I knew there was Disney characters, but I couldn't take the game seriously. It's like, why are there Final Fantasy characters and then you got Goofy? Like, I never understood it.
Of course, Goofy's a legend.
Goofy is a legend. Don't get me wrong. I love Goofy. I love Goofy, but the problem is, it's just I wasn't expecting it. And the funny thing is, it's on the cover art and it's there. Like, you go into it knowing you're gonna see those Disney characters, but it's like seeing Cloud and like Sephiroth, and it's like, especially playing VII Remake, which is a very serious game, and then going to Kingdom Hearts, it's like, oh, so what is this game?
I think it's part of the beauty, to be honest. I think it's a beautiful, weird game, but in a good way. It's like, I don't know, like, it's just one of those games where I want everyone to give it a go, because it is so fun and so amazing to me, but I know that not everyone's gonna think that way, but I do think it's one of those games that's, I like weird, I like the weird things of the world, and to me that is, yeah, top tier.
Would you say Kingdom Hearts is one of your favorite games that you've worked on in terms of a marketing perspective?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna say yes and no. I'm not gonna go into too much detail because obviously I'm not here to talk about the ins and outs, but I love working on it because it's my favorite game and I'm very passionate about it and I want everyone to play it and to love it and, you know, feel the way I feel towards it. But then the other half of me is it can be tricky working with certain stakeholders attached to the IP of Kingdom Hearts, as expected with any kids franchise because it is a Disney product, but that can be a little bit difficult. It's a harder game to work on, but it's not, I love working on it and I want to work on it, so every time, you know, at work, so we get allocated titles to lead, I will always dibs Kingdom Hearts because I love the game so much, but I'm aware that it's a challenge and I'm willing to walk in because a big part of the challenge is selling the game to people who don't understand it. You know, similar to what you're saying, why would I want to play a game with Final Fantasy and Disney? Why would I want to play an anime Disney game? But it's convincing people that this is a game they should be playing and they should be playing it because it's amazing and I'm willing to put that extra work in to get people playing it. But it is a challenge.
What other games, if you can say, what other games have you worked on at your time in Square?
Oh, so many. I work on every single game except the mobile games and Final Fantasy 14, which is funny because I play a lot of Final Fantasy 14.
That's another... Look, I'm sorry, Square Enix, if you're listening. That's another game I can't understand. It's just, why is it needed?
It's needed because it's the best game.
It's like an MMO, right?
Yes.
And I see a lot of people on Twitter playing it. Frey, for example, he does a lot of tweets about the game. I never understood how that game works.
Have you ever played World of Warcraft?
No.
Okay, that's probably why. So I was a World of Warcraft kid when I was younger. We had a family laptop.
Okay.
Back in those days, we used to share a laptop in the living room and you would take turns. I had a World of Warcraft account and I would play World of Warcraft and I loved it and I was so addicted to it that I would stay up all night secretly hoping that my mum wouldn't notice, and I'd play it all night till like 3 a.m. and I'd go to school so tired the next day. So this was when I was like, what, year 7, year 8? I was a baby and I would what time do I wake up for school? Like 7 a.m. So I would have like 3 hours sleep or whatever, and all day I would be thinking about World of Warcraft. I would be like, I can't wait to go home and play World of Warcraft, and I would jump back on and play World of Warcraft all night again and again, and it ruined me physically. I was just so ill. I wasn't sleeping well. I was very tired. I'd fall asleep in class. For some reason it didn't affect my grades though, but it messed me up, and ever since then I swore to never play an MMORPG again until I got bullied into playing Final Fantasy 14, and then the same thing happened. So it was actually a guy called Ian who used to work at Square Enix. He's now at Capcom. He knew that there was going to be a Nier raid before it was announced, and he loves Nier Automata, and he was like saying to everyone, let's play Final Fantasy 14 so we can all play together and get to the Nier raid. And we were like, I think it was Rhea who was like, yeah, okay, I'll play it with you. But she didn't want to play it with just her and him, so she was saying, please, Melissa, please play Final Fantasy 14. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I have this bad experience with World of Warcraft, you know, I loved it so much that I became a bit too addicted. I don't want to be addicted again. And she was like, no, please. So I was like, okay, you know what, fine, I'll play it. But it was easy to convince me because I love Final Fantasy, and it was one of the only Final Fantasy games I'd never played. I've never played 11 either, which was another MMORPG. Same thing happened. Me and Rhea would stay up until 4 a.m. every night during work days and would go into the office. So back in the day, before COVID, you had to go in Mondays to Fridays in the office. So we would go into the office and we would be tired. We would be falling asleep on our desks. And
because of Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, and we would go home and then play it again, and we would not sleep.
If you enjoy it, then I'm not the type of person that will just talk you out of it. I mean, personally, it's not for me just because, I don't know, it just feels, the structure of the game seems very odd to me. I've never liked the idea of games as a service, like paying monthly to play a game. It just seems a bit odd to me in that sense. Although, ironically, now I'm paying monthly for Game Pass, so kind of the same sort of stuff.
I mean, the thing about 14 is that it is the ultimate escapism. You create your character to look like how you want to look like. So you can be whatever you want. I am the cutest cat girl that looks just like me, but if she had blue eyes.
And cat ears.
And cat ears, exactly. Why would you not want cat ears in real life? So you can also, as well as playing through the story and picking the class you want, you can buy your own house. You can do loads of fashion things in the game, so you can dress up however you want, pretty much. And there's so many dyes. You could be a man walking around in high heels and fishnet tights if you wanted to.
Okay.
So
That's
their
good.
immersion and the detail in this game is ridiculous in a good way. So that's where for me the appeal comes from. Like, for example, sometimes I'll be going to a dungeon with my friends and my boyfriend, who I'm married to in the game. We got married virtually. We're not real life married. Again, we had so many of our in real life games attend this fake wedding.
Yeah. How was the wedding? Was it good?
The wedding was so cute.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really, it makes me wish that in the future, if I were to get married, I wanted to look like that. It is so beautiful.
But you're setting a very high bar at that point.
Apparently in Japan they do that though.
Really?
They have the real life ceremonial hall they have in the game in real life, and they can do real life Final Fantasy 14's themed weddings in the same way it is in the game.
So then you gotta get saving up to go to Japan.
I've got to get Japan to come here because I'm not getting married in Japan. All my friends are here.
Fair enough.
But it is beautiful, and it's just so stupid and immersive. And like I said, like, for example, when we're in a dungeon, my boyfriend will just again put on like some booty shorts or something as a joke, and just do the dungeon in those booty shorts.
Okay, all right, I get it. It seems fun, but to be honest with you, I mean, I'd rather stay away from those games.
You know what? If you want to save your addiction,
Yeah, no,
maybe
I don't
don't.
want to
But
get
it
addicted.
is very good, very immersive.
I mean, I don't necessarily have time to play the games that I want anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
Especially when you're getting to review, people are going to think I'm a douchebag. But when you get games to review, especially when you have, because COVID, we were like running on like a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
And everyone went back home to their home countries.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, man. Like, it's just me. I have to review all. And there was a lot of games that were releasing during COVID. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, oh shit, I've got to review this and review that. It was just difficult. And it's still kind of like that now. So it's like, sometimes you'll get a game that you don't want to play, but you kind of have to review it because you want to have a good relationship with that publisher.
Yeah, that's a part of the relationship building, I guess.
It is. But, sometimes you'll get forgive me for saying this, some dog shit tier titles.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the name. I might mute my mic when I say it, but yeah, I muted that, so you guys don't actually get to hear what I'm saying.
It's
so.
funny because I actually like the game that
Oh,
you
you
mentioned.
do?
I do, yeah.
It's a shit game.
I was also given a code, but more from a friendly perspective.
Okay,
I
was
just
it-
asked for one.
You asked for one.
Yeah,
I never understood it though because it was just like season passes and it's just,
Yeah.
it was a bit odd.
I get why it's unappealing.
It's a cute game, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but there were certain things like, why do I have to grind to get this character? And it's like, oh, but you can buy him.
Yeah.
It's like one of the reasons why I don't like games like Fortnite as well. Like too many collabs and too many crossovers can just get messy.
You know what's wild? So I've never played Fortnite, but it is wild how big it is. And
Oh, it's huge.
It's mad because as someone who works in marketing, my eyes are now constantly, I'm always looking at everything, looking at the marketing, even if it's not video games. And the thing that was the most wild to me is that in 2018, was it 18 or 19? I don't remember. I was at the Fallout Boy show at the O2 Arena. And during Where Is Your Boy, or Where Is Your Boy, they had Fortnite in the background.
Oh, is it?
And that was like sponsored content. And then also I saw some stories of Pete Wentz on Instagram of where he was at the Fortnite event with Ninja and a couple of other, I think it was Ali A and a couple of other big YouTubers. And I was just thinking, wow, they're just getting Fallout Boy into this. This is so random.
You know what? They do a lot of crazy collabs in Fortnite. Like, apparently BTS, I got a press release for this for some odd reason. BTS did a live concert in Fortnite.
Yeah, Ariana Grande did the same thing.
Well, I mean, you can play as Ariana as well.
Yeah,
I thought that was a bit wild.
You can play as Ariana Grande whilst watching the concert as the bigger Ariana Grande. I saw some clips of it online. It looks hilarious.
But that being said, we're going to go on another ad break. Obviously, it's not a break for us. And then we'll go in our final segment, the best segment of the podcast. But yeah, we'll see you guys in a moment. Now it's a better time than ever to be an anime fan with Crunchyroll that has the world's largest anime collection. You can watch new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan, enjoy access to unlimited ad-free anime, read hundreds of chapters across dozens of manga titles, and save with exclusive Crunchyroll store discounts. So if you guys go to crunchyroll.com/kunai, that's crunchyroll.com/kunai for your 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium service. Remember, you guys, we love Crunchyroll. We use them on Kunai. I personally love them. I personally use them all the time. We've been going to Crunchyroll events for a long time sponsor of the podcast. And you know what? They are the best place to watch anime legally online with over 30,000 episodes. And at the moment, if you're listening to this, they've got the largest fall lineup in history for fall 2022 with over 40 simulcasting titles. That is insane. So join Crunchyroll with our link, crunchyroll.com/kunai for 14-day free trial. In addition to that, you've got different perks with your premium service. You can either go with your mega fan, you can go with fan service, or your mega fan for 12 months. Personally, the biggest savings that you're going to make is if you do your mega fan option. If you live in the UK, that's only £60 a year. That's VAT inclusive. That's cheaper than any streaming service at the moment, especially if you're into anime. You got all your anime pretty much in one place. That's no ads, unlimited access to the Crunchyroll library, new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan for your simulcasts, access to your digital manga, streaming on 4 devices at the same time, as well as offline viewing. You would not believe how many times offline viewing has saved me. Beyond the tube, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no 5G. I'm like, I want to watch anime. Boom! I'm watching Overlord. I'm watching Dr. Stone. I'm watching Naruto. I'm watching DBZ. You've got it all on Crunchyroll. So that's crunchyroll.com/kunai. That's crunchyroll.com/KUNAI. Back onto the episode. Are you a fan of anime and Japanese pop culture? I know I am. So why don't you get your asses down to Sugoimart? All right, that's sugoimart.com. Alternatively, you can use our link, getlifepodcast.com/sugoi. That'll take you to our special link on Sugoimart. That is getlifepodcast.com/SUGOI. And use our code GALP, that is GALP, for 15% off on everything on Sugoimart. And you can use the code multiple times if you really love Sugoimart and you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go and purchase the best things that Japan has to offer. Food and drink, beauty items, collectibles, toys and games. You can actually buy Gunpla from Sugoimart, as well as a lot of things for your home. Kitchen appliances, bathroom, bedroom stuff. They've got these really lovely Spy Family campus notebooks. I'm a big fan of stationery, as you guys know, and they've got that there as well. There's some really cool stuff on here. You can also purchase experience sets, which is basically like kits to make matcha, to make onigiri, and they'll provide everything basically. Whatever you want, Sugoimart has got it. They've got a lot of really cool stuff from Japan, and as you guys know, every sort of month or so they give us care package that we show off to you guys, which I think is pretty cool. So they've got really nice stuff included. They also sell Pokemon cards and a lot of genuinely hyped stuff. What we want to do is that we want to find out the weirdest things on the Sugoimart website and get Sugoimart to send them to us. So Sugoimart, if you're listening, let's prepare that. Let's just get the weirdest stuff and send it my way, and we'll talk about it on a episode of Umai. They've got some really nice stuff. If you want to get items from Japan quite easily, some really nice quirky items, then you can go to sugoimart.com, use the code GALP for 15% off on your purchase. They've got some really nice stuff, whether you're an anime fan, whether you're a fan of Japanese culture, or even if you're a fan of Disney. They've got a lot of Disney items on there. So experience Japan from the comfort of your own home with Sugoi Mart. Use the code GALP for 15% off. Thank you, Sugoi Mart, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And back on to the episode. Okay, Melissa, we are back. It was literally just a couple of seconds. So, how are you finding it so far?
Finding what so far?
The podcast.
Oh, I was going to say, what was the topic?
So far?
It's really fun. It's really fun talking about, I think it's because I do love my job and I love video games. So it's a very naturally easy thing to talk about. So it doesn't, there's no struggle. I could talk about anything in games, that's the thing. And I could go on and on about it, So
we're not going to talk about games.
Oh.
We're not going to talk, well, it's kind of somewhat gaming related. I don't know. I wanted to ask you about your tweets.
Oh no.
What is this 1111 thing about?
Okay, so in numerology, 1111, when you see the time is 1111, or if you see the number 1111 anywhere, you're supposed to make a wish.
Oh, okay.
So the reason I tweet it when it's 1111 is so if by chance people also see 1111 my tweet whilst it's 1111, they can also make a wish, because I don't want to keep it to myself. So it's a really I hope you all make wishes when you see it.
Okay. I was confused because I didn't get that.
It's like seeing a shooting star, but it's more common. It is a real numerology thing, and it's constantly referenced in pop culture and media. So there's a Water Park song, one of my favorite bands, called 1111. So in the lyrics it goes, I must have caught you from 1111, my lucky number 7. So catching someone from 1111, is wishing, oh, I really wish my crush would notice me or whatever. And the song is a very cute romantic song about, the song is called 1111, and he wished for the girl to love him back.
So when have you started doing that? Because I've noticed this for how many years, since I followed you, and I was like, I never understood this. I mean, now that you're explaining it now, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm imagining that a lot of people that are going to be following you after this, you've got it tattooed. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've got 1111 tattooed on me.
That's great.
But specifically, I had Austin Knight from Water Parks write down 1111 with a heart, and I got that handwriting tattooed on me, so it's not just a random font or anything, it's specifically his handwriting, yeah.
That's amazing.
But the song is just very cute, and where I constantly make that 1111 wish. And I do believe to some degree, I don't know if this is, I'm a little bit spiritual, but I do believe in manifestations, and for example, even working at Square Enix, it's a dream job for me. Square Enix games are my favorite. So 1 year before I worked at Square Enix, I was in their offices attending as a fan. It was an I Am Setsuna event. And I remember looking at the offices and thinking, these are some of the most beautiful offices I've ever seen. One day I'm gonna work here. I just didn't realize that one day would be less than a year later. Because I applied for a job 6 months later, then got accepted for the interviews. But it's that manifestation and that intention, I want this thing to happen to me, so I'm gonna believe it will. And sometimes it does, sometimes it takes long, sometimes it's shorter. But I think because you meet people sometimes and are like, oh, I've got terrible luck. And it's like, well, you say that, and you're kind of putting that thought into your head. So with 1111, I'm just kind of encouraging people to make those wishes and to remind themselves to, even if it's not real, it's just a good reminder to set that goal in your head of what I want.
I wouldn't put it down as not being real or anything like that. I completely agree with you in terms of the whole manifestation thing, because when you put those positive vibes and the positive energy in your head, you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Because I remember, when I first started this podcast, there was a point in time where I was like, you know what, this isn't going anywhere for me. I'm just going to stop it. If I did that, I wouldn't have this conversation today.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't get the opportunities that I had.
Yeah.
So it's about thinking positive, and it's about setting yourself up.
This is just also as a disclaimer, I'm not a toxic positive person.
Okay.
Because that's more when, you're allowed to feel sad, you're allowed to have insecurities. I'm the furthest from having much self-esteem myself, but it's something I try and practice with myself, because we should be trying to say and do positive things for ourselves, even if we don't really like ourselves. And if I don't like myself, I at least want all my friends to like themselves. I am working on it though. I am very proud of things like my career, and I've got incredible friends. It's mad because back in school I didn't really have many friends. I was heavily bullied, which is again why video games were so helpful to me. But nowadays I've got arguably too many friends, because now I've got to try and figure out how to fit them all into my schedule of hanging out with them all, because I love them all so much. But it's putting that, I'm trying to appreciate more, and I want everyone else to also appreciate more. But I'm not saying that as a way of, you're you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to be insecure, you're allowed to have depression and anxiety.
Yeah, true. And I think at the same time, it's like also thinking about using those emotions, even if they are the negative emotions, to get you to push forward. Because it's interesting that you mentioned bullying, because believe it or not, similar thing happened to me.
That's the nerd culture.
It's true. I mean, even the reason why the podcast is called Get a Life Podcast, right? I went to a Catholic school.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very rigid. You had these sort of planners where you had to write down your homework.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was quite nerdy in you know, I didn't go outside during recess. I'd just stay in the teacher's classroom and I'd finish all my homework because that means I get more time at home to play video games, right?
Exactly the same thing. But I was a businesswoman from day one.
Okay.
In year 7 and 8, I used to charge people 50p if I gave them the answers to the maths homework. Because where I was just, again, like I was the nerd that also knew, well, that also did well in school. So I did similar. I just finished the homework there and then because that means I could go home and play video games and not worry about my homework. But I would also make money.
See, that's smart. I didn't think about doing that. I was just too upset. So for me, what it was that people, at least in the school that I went to, it wasn't very diverse, right?
Oh,
and the kind of games that people were playing were like, yeah, let's play FIFA, let's play Call of Duty. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay playing these Japanese and JRPGs and things like that. So someone kind of found out that I had like a blog at the time and I was talking about games.
Yeah.
And someone like stole my my bag, and inside like my journal that I'd write all my homeworks and stuff, they wrote "Get a Life." They're like, "Get a life, due Monday." And I was the kind of kid that if anything was written under like the homework section, I want to make sure that I do it as quickly as possible. So for me, I was like, okay, my goal is to get a life, right? So then I was like, okay, I'm going to start this podcast. And that's what the podcast is named after.
That's so, really iconic. I enjoyed that.
I mean, not many people know. You're actually the first person to know that.
Oh, no, I'm honored.
Like, not even Nathan knows that, which is kind of
Nathan.
crazy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Nathan. I asked Nathan to come on, and he was like, no, bish, I can't come to London. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck Nate. Hashtag fuck Nathan, man.
Yeah, that's a hashtag I can get behind. I'm joking.
No, we love Nathan. We stand Nathan. You know what? For me, there's certain people in the gaming industry that have just made such an impact, and you don't necessarily notice it at the time. And they might be from smaller studios, they might be from like, you know, literally their team is like 4 people or whatever. But like I said, even with you, like, you made such a huge impact because of that handwritten note, right? So there's just people in the industry that you just love, not just because of their work ethic, but just because they're genuinely good people and not dickheads.
You know what's funny? It's funny to me because I don't even think that it could have an impact half the time. Like, yeah, I mentioned it's nice to be nice, but you never really realize how much your words sometimes has in someone. It's not that I'm a nasty person or anything, but even just being nice, it's something that I expect everyone to be. Everyone should be nice to each other.
But not everyone's like that.
No, it's true. There are definitely some people I've come across who aren't the nicest. But as expected, humans are humans. There's always going to be good and bad.
Speaking of good and bad and nice people, I noticed that you are a fan of Felix. I don't know if you still are.
Fan.
You still are?
A huge fan of PewDiePie.
Thank you. Have you met Felix before?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Not through work, though.
Okay, which is a shame. I mean, he's a big fan of Square Enix style.
Yeah, so I queued up 4 hours at his book signing.
So you have a copy of This Book Loves You, right?
Yeah, and it's signed.
And it's signed by Felix.
And when I met him, I panicked, so I told him I was Swedish. And he asked me whereabouts in Sweden I was from, and I told him, which is Halmstad, if you're listening and curious. Yeah, that was pretty much the interaction. I was so starstruck when I met him. But yeah, no, I still watch his videos. I love his Japan content at the moment.
It's so good.
I'm in love with his wife, Marzia.
Their wedding was amazing as well.
Gorgeous.
It was so beautiful. They rented out like Kew Gardens and stuff. It was fucking crazy. I've met Felix once. It was also at the book signing, but I could have met him earlier because this was around the time when I was studying architecture. My friend was like, oh, you know what? Let's not go to this lecture. I want to go home. And I was just like this nerd. I was like, no, I have to stay for this lecture. The lecture was like 8 p.m. and it was in Greenwich. And I live in North London. So it was such a fucking pain in the ass to go to that lecture.
Yeah.
By the way, I went to University of Greenwich. On his way home, he met Felix on the train.
Oh my gosh.
And he was basically, this is when he was like moving to the UK. He goes up to, he didn't really watch Felix's content. He just goes up to him and he's like, hey, are you PewDiePie?
Oh my gosh.
And then they spoke for like a good 2 hours.
Oh my god.
On the train, just him and Felix. Marzia was there as well, but she was quite shy. She didn't want to get into the conversation. And it was just very interesting because it was like, he actually had a human conversation. Obviously, at that time, he was like what, the biggest YouTuber?
Yeah,
and
he still is. He's still #1 most subscribed.
well, T-Series.
Like even they don't count.
T-Series
Listen,
counts.
the big corporations, right? Cocomelon, T-Series,
Yeah.
all these, they don't count to me because they're not real people. So the people who to me matter are people like like Smosh, for example. They were also my favorite YouTubers back in the day. I now watch a lot of Anthony Padilla.
Yes, oh my
Big
god.
fan of Anthony Padilla.
I love him.
He's my other big favorite YouTuber.
So cool.
But I watch a lot of those videos, and to me, they're like the real YouTubers. They're not corporations.
The OGs.
Yeah, they're not real corporations. They're people who decided to put themselves on a camera and make fun content. So to me, it's a whole different thing from like a T-Series and a Cocomelon.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that because Felix at one point was like signed on with Disney.
Yeah, that was a weird time.
Yeah, it was, but the content was still good. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. But
I like that his content's also grown with time because I
Yes.
feel like if he was still making videos he did in 2012 now,
it wouldn't be sustainable.
I wouldn't like it anymore because it's boring now.
And I think it's even the way he kind of treats it with the audience and things like that. It started like what the bros, and then that became the 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's at now, but the audience has grown with him as well.
Yeah, and I think the reason, because I know that some people can listen to this and think, oh my god, you listen to PewDiePie, he's super insert discriminatory word here. And I get that he's done and said bad things, but one thing that I'm a strong believer of is people apologizing and taking accountability. And, yeah, he's repeated some things, but they're not the same things. And certain things I feel like are very human things. He came from a time that's very different from a lot of the people who complain, and I'm a millennial, so I grew up in a time where we were watching Little Britain and South Park.
Yeah.
And I feel like I used to make a lot of horrible jokes and saying words I should have definitely not been saying, especially as a child. I'm not proud of that at all. But I think with someone like Pewds, he's made a lot of effort to he donates a lot of money to charity. He gives opportunities to, people of color, believe it or not. Like, his main editor is a guy called Sive. Shout out to Sive, love Sive. He's a black man. And people don't know him or don't know, because they just look at reasons to complain at PewDiePie. And don't get me wrong, certain things do need to be called out. I call my friends out, they're still my friends. But he's not somebody you need to compare it to people like Piers Morgan, for example. He's never gonna apologize. He's never gonna change.
Yeah, he's a
So
knob.
you gotta look at somebody who's actually, steps back and goes, oh, was that bad? I'm sorry about this.
It's interesting that you mentioned that he's very human, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Being a human being, it's such a weird journey, and you learn every day.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Felix as well. I don't watch his content as much now because I kind of dropped off during COVID.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get back into it, especially his Japan vlogs.
The Japan vlogs are so
They're
good.
great. And it's nice to see him in this new phase of life.
Yeah.
Right? Because growing up and you see this guy in his room in Sweden and then going to Italy and then going to the UK. And
Yeah.
You're learning more about him. You're learning more about, I don't know, about everything. It's just genuinely just a nice experience.
Absolutely.
He's not a dickhead. I don't want to be rude, but it's just there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are someone that I don't like, for example, Mr. Beast. I fucking hate him.
Oh, fair. I don't mind
He
him,
seems so fake.
but I get what you mean. It's very much hi, I'm blah, 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 blah. And it's a bit oh, this is a bit too much.
Yeah, it's kind of like if Felix was still doing that. How's it going? But it's if he was still doing it, it seems so cringe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Even Jacksepticeye doesn't really do the top of the morning.
No, he doesn't do it anymore. I mean, if you asked him to, he'd probably do it.
Yeah.
One of the other reasons why I like Felix is because we're relatively small in comparison to Felix.
Yeah.
Right? 100 million subs
Absolutely,
or whatever.
yeah.
But I reached out to Felix right before COVID. Fun fact, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this, but we were actually going to have him on.
Oh, wow.
He answered me. I was like, what? So I spoke to his management company. They're based in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we'll pass it on to Felix and we'll see if he's available. And he said yes.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite odd that he said yes. Obviously, COVID happened, and then it was like, oh shit, we can't do this shit anymore. But it's just amazing that you get a response, because sometimes you don't.
I think during that time, Felix used to still say a lot of, shout outs, because he's a strong believer in pushing people up. And, that's how Jacksepticeye became big. It was from a shout out.
Yeah, same with Cinnamon Toast Cannon.
Yeah, exactly. So when that happened around that time, it kind of fits into the whole timeline of when he accidentally shouted out someone who had, I don't remember what content it was, but it wasn't appropriate, and he didn't realize that they had that on their channel because most of the videos weren't like that. So I think he now gets worried that...
Yeah, there's a lot of vetting process that occurs now, and bear in mind, he's such a big YouTuber. People are gonna pick anything that he says and be like, this is problematic, he's huge on YouTube. It's like, if he was smaller, I don't think people would care.
Yeah, no, they really wouldn't. And there's also like a lot of double standards. People are more willing to forgive absolutely anyone else. And I think just in general, when it comes to cancel culture, I think it shouldn't matter so much if people apologize and take accountability. I mean, he's always been someone to say, because some people say, oh, control your fans or whatever. And his thing is, he does say in his videos, like, I don't want people going to attack this person. I don't want people doing this. I don't want people doing that. But there's only so much he can say and do. He can't control who watches his videos.
That's true. He can't control. And, you know, there was some horrible things that happened. Of course, the incident that happened in New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah.
As you mentioned, you can't control what your audience does.
Also,
right?
when that subscribe to PewDiePie thing happened, because I used to say it all the time because I wanted, you know, T-Series to win. The moment that happened, he made a video which has like millions and millions of views. Please do not say subscribe to PewDiePie anymore, because it's a really traumatic thing to happen, and he just didn't want people to contribute to that anymore, and most people stopped.
And that's the funny thing, because you compare him, I don't know if you know about Keemstar, everyone knows about him.
Yeah.
You compare him to someone like Keemstar where his audience are out for blood.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
And there have been people that have committed suicide and have mentioned Keemstar specifically.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get any shit.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying? So there's this sort of double edge.
People do dislike Keemstar.
Yeah, they do, but he equally doesn't get any sort of... He's still on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't get any sort of negative thing, because at the end of the day, for him, all of the hate fuels him.
Yeah.
Right? And there's two ways of thinking about it. It's like, some people say, well, you know, all press, even bad press is good press, which I don't believe. Even in the games industry, like it's not a good thing. But all of that aside, I want to get into more, because we've only got 5 minutes left, so we're going to go on a bonus round thing.
Oh, okay.
So Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Yes.
Who did you give the flower to?
Tifa.
Melissa, you disappoint me.
Tifa.
Why do you like Tifa? Tifa's shit.
No, so unlike you, I played the original Final Fantasy VII, and to me, Tifa was just always this really cool, badass, again, dark-haired character. She was somebody I looked at and thought, that's me. Even though it's funny, even with the Powerpuff Girls, I looked at Buttercup and went, yeah, I want that to be me, but I grew up to be Bubbles. I'm a bit of a crybaby. But Tifa, she was just a really cool, badass woman who could fight. Like, yeah, Aerith can fight too, but she's a healer, you know, whilst Tifa, she could fight, you know. And I just feel like her and Cloud make sense. And I know some people think it's Aerith and Cloud, but
no, it should be Aerith and Cloud.
No, because if you play Crisis Core, you know Zack and Aerith
are
meant to be.
I'm not gonna know about Crisis Core until it comes out in December. Well,
that's a remaster, more than a remaster. December.
Is it December?
Well, yeah, winter.
Winter. Okay, we'll say winter. So it's not gonna come out until winter time. So I'm not gonna know about it, because that was a PSP game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna boot up my PSP and be like, I'm gonna play Crisis Core.
Well, yeah, you know, definitely get the full, or maybe Rhea can hook you up.
No, Rhea should hook me up.
No, it's Ibs now. Ibs is leading the title.
Okay.
Do you know Ibs?
I do. He used to work at Sega.
Yeah, he's wonderful. So it's Ibs and Rhea, the dream team.
The dream team, definitely.
Incredible human beings. But yeah, like I said, we all get allocated individual titles. So Ibs is Crisis Core.
So he's for the... Okay, Ibs, if you're listening, hook us up, please. I beg you. I need to do the content, because oddly enough, our Final Fantasy content is just smashing it, because we normally cover, like, a lot of people know us for like Koei and stuff, but we're getting a lot of, especially during COVID, we're getting a shit ton of listeners because of Final Fantasy. And this whole Tifa versus Aerith thing, it is a bit divisive.
We can add Jessie into the mix now as well.
That is a good point.
Yeah, Jessie.
I was told that Jessie was originally like an NPC.
Yeah, she really did
have... a meme.
She really was a side character. She was barely in the original. Like, very not a main character. So she has so much involvement in the
Can
remake.
we talk about spoilers? Do you think?
Spoilers of remake?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Okay, cool. Because everyone knows that we talk about spoilers. I just maybe thought... I forgot his name. one of the main guys, the big lad. What is his name?
Barrett?
Not Barrett. No, I forgot his name. He's one of like the party. Well, he's not a party member, but he died. Like you think he dies and shit.
Wait, with what?
You think he dies? I forgot his name.
Oh, Biggs?
It's the guy with the bandana on his head.
Oh,
And he has a cat. Like there's a cat that's always like following him. What is his name?
Wait. Yeah, it's Biggs.
Is it Biggs?
Yeah, it's Biggs. This guy. Let me Google it.
No, it's not Biggs.
Oh, okay.
It's the other guy.
You said bandana, that's why.
He's got a bandana.
Wait, I know who you're talking about. Oh my gosh. Wedge.
Wedge, yes, my man Wedge.
I don't know why I was said Biggs so confidently.
Well, because I said someone that died.
I get Biggs and Wedge confused so all the time. The names just go hand in hand, so I get the two.
I felt so bad, like when like seeing your friends die and shit. I was like,
oh, I cried so much during remake.
I cried as well. Like I don't have any connection to these characters, but it just goes to show how well written the game is.
Yeah.
You know, it was just amazing. But going back onto the point, why don't you like Aerith?
I do.
Why
like
do you
Aerith.
hate Aerith?
Listen, I never said that. Listen,
You did.
This is the media twisting my words. No. I love every, pretty much every woman that I can think of in Final Fantasy. Aerith is adorable. She is very cute, but I just liked Tifa more. Me and Bria at work actually. We have a joke that I am Tifa and she's Aerith. And I remember even at one point we had matching screensavers where I had Cloud receiving the flower and she was Aerith giving the flower. And I remember we showed like a coworker and he just went, oh, that's really lame. And we were like, oh, okay. But we thought we were really cute
That
about
sounds
it.
kind of cool though.
It's adorable.
It's nice.
But we're very much like Tifa and Aerith are a cute combo and they had an even better relationship in Remake than the original, I feel. So I quite enjoyed that.
I don't know. I don't know why. I just find her fucking annoying, Tifa. I'm sorry.
Wrong.
You're probably never going to come on this podcast again, but there's something about her that I just never quite liked. Do you know what I mean? Like I felt that there was something missing. It might be the case that because I haven't played the original 7,
Maybe.
I haven't had a connection to her, and then Aerith in Remake just there from the very beginning.
You know what? So I do think it is something to do with people who haven't played the original, because my boyfriend Dave, he has never played the original Final Fantasy 7 either, but he played Remake, and he did not favor Tifa either. He liked Jessie.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
and I get it, because Jessie, they made her so like bubbly and fun and
her
badass.
storyline as well with her
Yeah.
dad. I was like,
They added so much to Jessie. So I think if I had never played the original, I probably would be a Jessie girl. And that was never a thing. Before it was all about Tifa, Aerith, and Yuffie.
yeah.
And Yuffie's obviously not in it until Intergrade, so...
I didn't care about Yuffie.
See, this man has some dodgy opinions.
It's not dodgy. It's just I don't know. It's like Aerith is just there and she cares about you. I'm not saying Tifa doesn't care, but it's just, I don't know. I find like a sense of peace. She's just so peaceful. You know what I mean? Like Tifa's can be very aggressive, can be like
I get
ready
that.
to fight and things like that.
I agree. I feel like I enjoy the aggression. But like Aerith does have like very angelic energy.
Yeah, she does.
She's very motherly. She's very cute.
You know, I kind of felt like this sort of goddess energy.
Yeah.
You know, like someone that is like a saint almost. You know what I mean?
She's not human, is she?
Spoilers.
No, it's not really a spoiler. We
Spoilers.
know that she's
Spoilers.
she's what are they called again?
I don't even know.
Like-
You worked for Square Enix. How do you not...
Okay, let me just put a disclaimer here. Me and terminologies and names, worst thing ever. I do not remember the names of anything. If someone introduces me and says, hi, my name is John or whatever, I'm not gonna remember that name in 5 minutes. You have to repeat that name to me 5 million times, and even then I will probably forget it. Even your name, walking in here, I just went blank for a second.
Yeah, no, my name is a bit confusing to be fair, so that's fine, don't worry about it. But, moving away from Final Fantasy for a moment,
Yep.
you mentioned before we recorded, because literally we've gone 3 minutes over time.
Oh,
We
no.
might get kicked out any moment. Hopefully they don't. But you mentioned you watch anime.
Yes, I love anime.
So, what are you watching at the moment?
Right now, I'm actually not watching anything, but I just finished Kakegurui Twin.
Okay.
Is that how you pronounce
it?
it?
It's pronounced Kakegurui. It's the gambling anime on
Yes,
Netflix.
yes.
Such a good show as well.
So good.
I liked it. I haven't seen Twin yet.
Twin it's good.
And I haven't
good.
seen the second season.
Oh, you need to get on it.
No.
It's so good.
Because the funny thing is, that was someone that Joe. I think it was Joe. They suggested it on the podcast on our anime podcast.
Yeah.
And we had to watch it. So a lot of the times when we get fan suggestions or if we get suggestions from the crew, we kind of watch it and things like that. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it reminded me a lot of Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, if you've ever seen that.
I haven't, no.
It's fucking intense.
I'll give it a go.
It's okay, maybe the art style might be a bit jarring because they have very sharp, pointy chins.
I don't mind.
Okay, if you don't mind, you really like it because it's like this guy that has gotten into debt with the Yakuza and he's getting sent to like this sort of slavery thing. So he's like doing manual labor all day, every day. And his only way out is to pay his debt.
That sounds amazing.
And the way he can do that is through the manual labor for a number of years, or he can bet certain things to get money. And it's pretty intense. Like I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's high risk. If you thought Kakegurui was high risk, you're messing with people's lives in this sort of story.
I prefer that more though. My favorite genre of any media is horror.
Yeah.
I'm a horror girl at heart. So I definitely, my favorites are like horrors and psychological stuff. So obviously I love shows like Death Note, which is more the psychological stuff, you know, and crime. And then obviously I like Psychopath, a bit more crime and psychological. But then I also loved stuff like, oh gosh, what's the name? Death Parade, Erased was one of my favorites.
Erased fucked me up.
But that's why, that's one of the best animes of all time, because I love how horrible it was. And then,
although I don't want to spoil the race for people, but what did you think about the ending of the race? Because I wasn't too happy with it.
It was a choice.
Was it a choice you agree with?
Could have been better.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there. If you've seen Erased, you'd know what I'm talking about. But Erased was good show, but the ending fucking pissed me off.
It's like that vibe though. Like I like a very dark vibe. Oh, Mirai Nikki as well. Psychological, bloody, violent murders.
Have you seen Another?
Yes, I love Another.
That was another one that we covered on the podcast. I'm not really too into like...
Yes, they're playing Jolene.
They're playing Jolene.
I love Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I was listening to that song on my way here, so I was thinking maybe I'm having like a brain aneurysm or something. And I was like, why is this
right here on this podcast?
Right
we
here
are
on the
having
podcast.
a mental breakdown.
Yeah, I might have to like edit it out because of copyrighted music.
No, keep it in. Entertain them.
Keep it in and get sued.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. That's what it's
get
about.
Some publicity with it. Let's
100%.
hope it hits the news.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully,
Dolly Parton, Zeus, get a life.
Yeah, I don't want that. Although, you know what? Dolly Parton's such a sweetheart.
She would never.
She paid for the COVID vaccine. Like, we wouldn't have a vaccine if it wasn't for Dolly Parton.
That's exactly true.
We stand Dolly Parton. Such a queen. I forgot what I was going to say now. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Another.
Another. Oh my god. I'm not really into horror anime, and when our co-host Kevin suggested it, I was just going to like tell him, oh, fuck off, I'm not going to watch this. Because we have to watch what's been suggested.
Right, yeah.
So there's one thing that it fucked me up. It's like one of the characters slips and falls.
Yeah, I know.
With the umbrella scene.
Yeah, the umbrella scene.
And I can't. I have umbrellas now, but they're like the small ones.
Oh, but
I can't use the big ones.
They're easier to carry anyway.
They are, but I used to like those big umbrellas because.
You know what? You know what that is? That's a Final Destination moment.
I hate that shit.
I love it. I am a big Final Destination Saw. You know, I am all about the gruesome. I'm a horrible person. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't make you horrible. I mean, there's certain things like if you enjoy it, fair to you. Like I enjoyed Another, and I enjoyed a lot of the psychological thrillers and things like that, and a lot of other anime in that sort of same vein.
It does affect you though, because when you're like on the motorway and you see like a lorry with loads of like tree logs or something, all you can think is that's gonna come and kill me.
Yeah, 100%.
Because of Final Destination, or like with the umbrella in Another, you think I'm gonna fall over and that's gonna stab. You know what? I actually had this premonition in Rome. So I went to Rome about 2 weeks ago for my best friend's birthday. And have you heard of the Spanish Steps with a big staircase?
No.
Well, there's an area that's just a massive staircase up to this building, and it's called the Spanish Steps. It's pretty big. And as I was walking down the Spanish Steps after taking pictures, I said to my best friend, Emily, shout out to Emily, I said, I just envisioned something horrible. And she goes, did you imagine yourself falling? And I went, yeah. And the difference is that normally when you say that, you'd think someone would be more careful to not fall. We were gonna walk to Moschino, which is, you know, a brand, and I was gonna look it up on Google Maps, so I get my phone out and I start typing it in on Google Maps. As I'm walking down the stairs and I miss a step, I just fall down the stairs at the Spanish Steps in the middle of a religious monument, essentially, and it's illegal to sit on the Spanish Steps, but I'd hurt myself so bad that I still have a bruise to this day on the side of my leg and on my knees, and my ankle is still a bit sore from it. And yeah, that really messed me up. And also my palms were really bruised for a while. They're fine now, from where I supported myself falling. So luckily I could still walk for the rest of the holiday. But I imagined myself falling and I still fell.
You know what? That's a proof of the manifestation.
I manifested the fall, apparently.
Yeah, you did. You did.
So don't think of yourself hurting, because it will happen.
Because it will happen. You will fuck yourself up. There was another question that I had, but I'm very conscious of time because there's people walking back and forth. They might kick us out any moment. So what are you excited about playing in the future?
Ooh, okay. What am I excited about? So, my sister recently got me a PSN card for my birthday.
Okay, how much?
£25, but she specifically got me £25 because the game I wanted is $24.99.
Okay, what game is it?
Which is Stray. I am a crazy cat lady.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I need to play that game.
I heard that game is really depressing.
Yes, and my boyfriend described it as Nier Automata, but a cat game. And Nier Automata messed me up, so I'm like, yes, mess me up.
You're ready for it. I saw the theories online, and I was like, I hope we get a second Stray game because
no spoilers, please.
I'm not going to spoil it, but the stuff that happens in that game makes you think about life.
See, I hadn't started it yet because there was new content on Final Fantasy XIV, and I play it with friends. But I've finished most of that content now, so soon I should have time to play Stray and really get into it, get into my feelings, and I'm very excited for it. But I'm hoping it's not too bad because I can't stand any cats getting hurt. Don't spoil it, but because I just can't. Like, I am such a cat lover. Like, my cat Gaga died last year, and I had to take a whole week off work because I was just so miserable. I couldn't stop crying. It still obsesses me to this day just thinking about it. So me and cats are just I can't see a cat getting hurt. Any other animal I don't care, but cats.
Well,
Peter coming for us.
Yeah, RSPCA. That's not any other animal. No, fuck them.
No,
but cats are alright.
Even humans, I'm like, screw it. That's why I can.
You know what? There's a lot of people that have that same sort of vibe where they care more for animals than. You know what? Sometimes I say this all the time. There's certain animals that we don't deserve their love. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? Most of my friends are vegan. I'm one of the only meat eaters.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of like these opinions, and most of my, you know what, the vegan stereotype is wrong. Like most of them are fine with meat and meat. Well, they're probably not fine with it, but they aren't rude about it. They know that it's a choice that I've made, and I could choose not to eat meat, but I do because I love it. And I honestly, I would kill a cow for a steak. I will do it with my own bare hands. And you know who's gonna eat the steak? Me and my cats. We're all gonna eat the steak together.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I've done that.
Oh?
I used to work in a slaughterhouse.
Oh, okay.
It's a horrible experience. I thought, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go out of this experience becoming vegan.
Yeah.
But it made me. People are gonna think I'm a horrible person. It made me feeling hungry.
No, but I get that. I get that in aquariums. I'm a big fish lover.
Okay, yeah.
So sometimes I look at fish and I'm like,
oh,
I can't wait to have some seafood, which is so bad.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with the slaughterhouse. I mean, obviously.
Well, that's the thing. Humans are animals at the end of the day, and
yeah, but you wouldn't eat a human, would you?
I mean, yeah, we wouldn't eat other humans, but like the point is like we still look at things like fish and go, yeah, it's alive, but I could still eat it, I guess. Because it's how a cat would look at it. Cats look at birds and go, I'm gonna kill it. You know, we have a little bit of some of us still have an instinct, I guess. Not that you know what, the vegans are gonna hate me.
The vegans are coming after you specifically.
How do I have so many vegan friends with these opinions? I don't know.
You know what? I mean, I've got vegan friends as well. Shout out to Sven. He's vegan and he's got a very nice way of thinking about it. I don't know. It was too complex for me to even remember it. But I came out of that conversation thinking, you know what? I'm gonna start eating less meat.
Yeah.
Which is a bit odd that we're talking about this on a gaming podcast, but it's something to be conscious of, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything you want to sort of end the podcast?
Oh, what do I want to end this on? That's such a pressure. That's a really big pressure to end it on a message that's important.
Oh, you don't need to end it on a message that's important.
Well, I want to end it on a message that's important.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess the main thing is that because the whole point of me going on this podcast was to talk about my career. And I mentioned manifestations a little bit, which I know some people are going to look at that and think, oh, that's such a hippie thing. But like, just be kind to yourself, reach for your goals and dreams, and also, I understand that I come from a place of privilege where I got very lucky with things like a scholarship. Like some people can't even go to university, for example, and I did get very lucky, and I'm so aware of how lucky I am. But I do believe that to a degree, yeah, not everyone's gonna have the same luck as me or other people. But I still feel like there's things we should be striving for, and just being kinder to yourself is very important to me. And I think everyone should, just be kind to yourself, aim for what you want to aim for. Start that podcast that you've always wanted to start.
A lot of people kind of go up to me and they get a bit confused because it's like, I've been podcasting since I was 15, so I'm now 28 this year, so almost 12 years or something like that. People get confused, so it's like, how can you do that for that long? Do you know what I mean? Or a lot of people tend to ask me, Bish, do you have any advice for the next generation of podcasters? And that's the question I want to ask for you. Do you have any advice for people that want to get into the industry? What's your main piece of advice?
So, this is going to sound a bit morbid, but at the end of the day, a job is a job and you have to work.
Okay.
So when you do have a job in games, it is a lot of work. And you have to you're not going to enjoy all of it because you are working, basically. I love my job, but it is hard work. And it's good to remember that no job is going to be easy. No job is gonna be fun all the time, and that's like that with any industry, any job. Even like influencers or creators, they have to put so much work in, and it isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and it's the same in games. Is it better than other jobs? Probably, but it's still hard work. And also, just try and have other hobbies, because sometimes work on a game will put you off a little bit temporarily, but I get over it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm over it now. Because sometimes you associate the stress with the game and you don't want to touch it. But I do get over it, and then I just play the game and I have a fantastic time, and I'm able to really separate work from me being a gamer outside of work. But in anyone's case, it's good to have multiple hobbies so you have something to fall back on. So for me, I'm a big lover of music. I go to a lot of concerts. I go out a lot. I watch anime. I watch TV. I watch horror movies. I have lots. I'm a big YouTube watcher. I love YouTube. So just make sure you have lots of hobbies and backup hobbies so you can step away from, because your life will become video games. And it sounds great at face value, but you do want to have a little bit of variety. That's my big advice.
That is actually excellent advice, because there are times in which I don't want to even, I haven't seen anime for a good year, because doing an anime podcast, I don't want to even if it's an anime I'm hyped for.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I was really hyped for Jujutsu Kaisen, and I was like, okay, but having to watch it for a podcast,
it's
different.
You know what? I watch another competing podcast. Sorry.
Okay. No, you could say it actually.
So Trash Taste. They're the biggest
yeah.
anime podcast.
They're not an anime podcast. I'm sorry.
No, but they never talk about anime.
They never talk about anime, and I love them. They are good.
But they are anime centric.
Yeah.
So there's some anime features. It started off as an anime podcast.
Yeah.
And they said that a big reason they don't cover anime as much is because they all stopped watching it because they all got tired of it.
That's true.
And I don't think it's that they dislike anime, because
no, it's not like that. Especially with Joey being. That's another thing. Yeah, especially with Joey being the anime man.
Yeah.
His life is anime,
yeah.
and he lives in Japan, which is the land of anime.
Exactly.
I can understand that level of burnout that he would get, or the same with Giguk. Giguk, I think gets it. Gant gets it a lot worse, because I don't know if you're familiar with Gant's earlier content, where he would cover every anime in a season.
Yeah.
But we tried doing that. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Because not all the anime in the season is going to be good, and it's hard. I don't know much about Connor. What do you think about Connor?
You know what? He's a spicy man. I think a lot of us can agree. A lot of women can agree with that. I
think he has more female watchers than male.
I think he does because
the Black Butler stuff, isn't it? When he was in the
it's because he doesn't really. He's a bit open with his gender. He's not the stereotypical masculine man again. Again, women don't want a stereotypical masculine man. A woman wants a man who will get into a maid costume,
which he has done before on numerous occasions. Yeah,
exactly. It's the fact that he will go into a Japanese strip club and just try it out for a day, because he goes out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
He clearly hates it, but it's entertaining, and there's something very attractive about a man who will, get in the maid costume, or just, who cares about the gender stereotype? Another man might look at it and be like, oh, that's really lame.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so. As you said, he does go outside the box a lot. Like, especially watching the video where he was in the, I can't remember if it was a butler cafe or if it was like
he did a butler cafe, yeah.
or something like that, or was a host cafe or something like
Yeah,
that.
he did a host cafe.
And it was just interesting, and he also went out to be one of the hosts.
Yeah,
I was like, he's putting himself out there. Do I like his content all the time? I don't personally, like, I wouldn't go and seek his content, but I do respect it.
See, he's my favorite one out of the three. That's the thing.
See, for me, he came out of nowhere because I'd already was watching Joey and Garn at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who the hell's this British guy?
To be fair, Connor did come out of nowhere compared to the other two. But it feels bad saying you have a favorite, but like...
No, I mean, you have to have a favorite.
You're attracted to a genre of video more, and for me, just those experiential videos are more fun for me.
Also, he looks really sexy in a suit.
I mean, exactly. And I'm not even a suit girl.
I'm not even gay, but I can even tell you, like, he's a sexy man.
Literally. A lot of people say that, and it's fine.
It's true. I mean, it's not a lie. I know we're going on. We're supposed to end this like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was meant to be like I had a final message.
But it's fine. No, but you know what? The final message is that Connor is sexy. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. That's the final message.
That being said, big thanks to our sponsors Crunchyroll and Sugoi Mart. In addition to that, big thanks for Platform Gaming Bar in London for actually allowing us to use the space for free. If you guys want to know more information, there will be ads on there as well as links in the description. And big thanks to Melissa for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Hopefully you'll come on again.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, I will come on again if the people want it. If at least one person says they want it, I will
everyone's gonna want it. All right.
Literally, I am so
it.
irrelevant.
Why do you think that, Melissa? You should really have more confidence.
I don't know. I just think it's funny.
You know what? I wouldn't have asked you on this podcast if I didn't think you're an awesome person.
We'll see. If I see one person say they want me back on, then I will come back.
I'm gonna make sure. If you want Melissa to come back on, make it a public tweet. Just be like, can we get Melissa on, please? And then I will say to them, no, Melissa was shit on this episode. No, I'm joking.
I can take criticism.
No, I'm not. That was a joke. I do that with Nathan all the time. But I'm thinking about having more than one person on because the idea behind this thing is that we'd introduce the person on one episode and then allow them to come on in a more like, I know this is kind of laid back, but like even more laid back.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because part of me would like to see, because look, Nathan's a little bit of a troll. I know we're talking about Nathan a lot, but Nathan's a little bit of a troll.
No, put me and Nathan on. Or
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You and Nathan or you and Ria.
You know who you can put on? Yes, of Ria, maybe. Or, do you know HD Jammers?
I don't.
Jammers on Twitter. He's my best male friend.
Okay.
And he has been my best friend since university. Okay. And he is an esports commentator.
That would be interesting.
We will give you a show.
Okay. Well, if you're listening, Jammers, send me a DM.
He will be listening.
He will be listening?
He will be listening.
Okay, so shout out to him.
Shout out to Jammers, you will be listening.
Okay, so what is it because you're going to send him the link?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So Jammers, if you're listening, this is a public invitation. Send me a DM, we'll have you on, and then we'll have you on with Melissa. How does that sound?
Absolutely.
Okay. You've promised the show, so you're going to have to make it good.
Oh gosh, I'll convince him. I'll convince him.
All right, cool. Is there anyone else you want to shout out?
I want to shout out George, who is one of the social guys at Square Enix. He's one of my best friends as well. And Lucy Hale, who is the presenter at Square Enix. She does all the Outriders and Life is Strange stuff.
I just want to mention one thing about George. Does he still have that awesome mustache?
Yes.
Okay, can we talk about that for a moment?
Absolutely.
It's amazing. How does he keep it up?
I don't know.
It suits him really. I don't even know the guy, but all I know, as soon as he mentioned his name, I was like, that's the guy with the mustache.
He is one good looking dude, yeah.
If he's listening, you need to give us your secrets. We need to know.
I don't know if he'll share that. I'm joking,
no,
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. Even if he doesn't, I've never seen a man that has pulled off a mustache.
It's his Cypriot genes.
That might be it.
That must
be it. That might be it. Anyway, that being said, bye.
Bye.